know, it's so hard.
Like that. And if it doesn't, just you can hit that button right there and it'll start again. Or it won't, and then
Which one I push? If it
this
doesn't?
little red button.
Okay, got it.
You can go without for just a little while.
We believe in you.
Is
Do bad, Donna.
that all?
Should be close.
Cool. All right, fellas. So, first of all, thanks for taking part of your day out for this. I know you guys are super busy. You got a lot going on, a lot of training, a lot of focus that you got to put towards your game. So this is just another part of that. We're going to be talking a little bit about mental prep today, and I'd love to just hear from you guys. How many of you have done any kind of formal mental skills training, sports psych, whether it's been through high school or with your club teams or with your colleges, just in terms of having some formal sports psych work, any kind of imagery, visualization, breath work kind of training? Anybody? A little bit? Okay, so not too many. How many hours a week are you guys out here from a physical training standpoint, whether it's here or on your own? How many hours would you say you spend on average a week working on your fundamentals in physical game? 35 hours, you think? Okay. How many hours? Anybody feel like more than that?
6 hours a day, 5 days a week plus Saturday morning.
Yeah, I mean that sounds about right, right? Anybody feel like they put more time than that in? 40 hours a week. So you got a full-time job, right? You got a full-time job. How much time would you say you put towards thinking about how to prepare mentally for the demands? All day. But like formalized training, you know, the same as you would do with your strength and conditioning, right? Your fundamental development. Honestly. 1 hour, right? Not a lot. And that's pretty common across the board. But you guys are in a situation now where you're about to go into a scenario where everybody's spending 35, 40 hours a week on their physical development. Okay? There's not many more hours than that you can give. But what not everybody is doing that you guys are going to have an opportunity to do now and moving forward is to start to focus on the mental piece. Because that's the secret weapon. That's the thing that everybody takes for granted. And if you can get your head right, and you can figure out how to integrate what's going on up here with what's going on with your body physically, in your training, in your performance out there, in these events that you're going into or on the field, then you're going to have a leg up. So I urge you, just in this time, you're all going to take something different away from today. And it might just be one little nugget, one little piece that you can add to what you're doing physically to give you a little bit of extra when you go out there. So just give me your time today. I'm pretty informal, okay? You can call me Tiff, Dr. Tiff, whatever. Raise your hand, shout at me. I want this to be what's going to be beneficial for you guys. So if we need to take a tangent off what I've got planned, if you have specific questions or thoughts, feel free to just throw them out there and let's make the most of this, okay? So I want to talk first just about 3 things that I feel like are essential as you guys go into this combine scenario, whether it's now or in the future. And you can also take this stuff just back to your own personal development as an athlete, wherever that next step for you is. And the first is figuring out what is your optimal zone. Okay? Has anybody ever heard of being in the zone, the runner's high, flow state? Right? This is the ideal scenario. When you look at what separates an elite competitor, the greats, right, apart from just everybody else out there on the field, is their ability to achieve and replicate what we call their zone of optimal functioning or flow state. Okay? So I've given you a few examples on the next page. Right? These are some flow state experiences. All right, the first one, Brett Favre, Monday Night Football, 399 yards, threw for 4 touchdowns, QB rating of 154 in a 41-7 victory over Oakland. That is a historical performance, yes or no? Right? That is something that we don't just walk out every day and do. There was something else that he had going on that day. He was in the zone. Every pass was perfect. Every connection. He was seeing things in slow motion. Right? You guys ever felt like you've been in that situation where you look up and it's the end of the game and you're like, I don't even remember really playing. But you just felt like you were on. Right? That's flow. And what the key is you get in that situation, but then you think, how the heck did I get there? How do I do that again? Because if you can replicate that, that's where you really start to get in that groove for the season, right, for your career. Second one, this is a golf example. I don't know if you guys are golfers, but David Toms, 2005 Accenture match play. He hit 70% of the greens in regulation. He made 37 birdies, 2 eagles, and only 4 bogeys in 6 matches. So he had 118 holes. That's pretty dang good, right? He was definitely in the zone. And then we all know the next one, right? Michael Jordan, 92 NBA championship against Portland. He hit 7 3-pointers in a row, scored 35 points in just 1 half. Okay? So, examples of it. I'm sure there's a million more. Can anybody else think of one? You say like somebody had a historical...
Kobe 81 point.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, that's a good one. Anybody else?
Yeah. Clay Thompson hit 37 in a quarter, so.
Who was it?
Clay Thompson.
Okay. All right.
All your references to basketball, guys.
I know, we don't have football references. Okay, so let me ask you guys this. Now, don't be shy. Okay, don't be shy. Anybody in here feel like they've had a flow experience that would be willing to share with the crew? Whether it was a game,
Talk about your
practice.
Talk about your sacks, bro.
Anybody ever feel like they've been in flow?
Yeah, 5 gold medals at the track.
You did? You had 5 gold medals in track.
Yeah, my high school senior year.
Okay.
Bring out the rings.
Can you identify
Don't be
what,
my
guys,
fault.
listen please. Can you identify what you felt like that was different than a normal track meet for you? Did you notice anything different just about how you prepared or in that moment?
I just felt like it was a championship, so I kind of was in like a different zone.
Okay. When you say different zone, like, did you feel like time was standing still a little bit?
I wouldn't say necessarily like that.
Uh-huh.
I felt like I was more focused on, because it was the championship, it was my last event in
Okay.
high school, so.
So the pressure, kind of the excitement of the experience. Do you feel like sometimes that you're able to get in a different mindset when it's a competition versus a practice scenario? Right? So there's 3 things that change our anxiety levels. Our preparation. Okay, when you go in more fully prepared, you have less anxiety because you're more confident in your ability to meet the demand of the situation. Right? Think about finals or midterms. Right? You study for that test. You feel like you're prepared. You go in there with a little less anxiety about your ability to do well on that test. Same goes for our athletic performance. When we go in there, we feel like we've trained hard, we fueled our body the way we need to, we're recovered, our workouts have been really solid. We walk in there more prepared, more confident. We have less anxiety. The second is familiarity, right? If you play in a stadium you're familiar with. If you're playing an opponent you've played before and you've played against really well, right? Or you've just been there before, right? This is my 2nd or 3rd state championship, or this is I've been in the playoffs before. I feel that energy. I've been here before. Less anxiety, right? And the last one is just the importance of the competition, right? Like we just said, you get a little bit more excited, less anxious, more motivated when it's an important event, when you know that there's something on the line. So if you can start to control those situations, then you can start to reduce anxiety and be more relaxed and comfortable. Right? We're going to learn a couple ways to do that, right? Preparation. One of the ways to really prepare is to understand how to get in your optimal zone. And you're sitting there, what's my optimal zone? Okay, so look at that next slide. There's 3 optimal zones as an athlete. And that zone is based on how aroused or excited you need to get before the game. Right? There's some of us that need to be in a low anxiety state. Right? How many of you are the kind of guy that wants to just kind of chill on the bench or in the locker room, kind of take a little pregame nap, really zone out, quiet? Do you feel like you're more of a low arousal guy? See one here? You? Okay. All right. So you got those teammates you've always seen, they're just kind of chill, they got their hood down, they just want to be by themselves, quiet, don't bother me, I'm in my zone, prepping for this next event. The second level's kind of middle of the road, right? You're maybe doing a little bit more dynamic warm-up. Maybe your playlist is some, good heavy, hard rock, classic rock, kind of middle of the road. And then you got the guy that's up on the top end, right? You got the hardcore hip-hop or the heavy metal, and you're doing sprint workouts. You want to break a sweat. Who feels like they're on kind of that high-end arousal? You got really high-energy warm-up. Okay. You see that if you were to watch an NFL team warm up or your own team, you can see across the board you have people in different types of levels of optimal arousal. You got some on that high end and some on the low end. You need to figure out what works for you. And you need to figure out how to get yourself in that zone. And there are some ways that you can do that. Who feels like they don't know where they need to be? Okay. Well, that's this first step, right? You know where your arousal levels need to be to feel the best going into that competition. One of the ways to do that is with a playlist, literally, right? Create a playlist of music that gets you in that zone. If you're somebody that needs high energy, high arousal pregame warm-up, you don't need to be listening to classic jazz, right? You need to find that rhythm that fits your personality and your needs as an athlete. How many of you guys have a playlist of some sort or something you do before every game? Okay? Seriously, guys, if you don't spend the next couple days figuring out that for you, because that can evoke the exact type of energy that you need to step on that field ready to go. So that's an easy way to do it. Okay? And the second thing you can do is creating another type of pre-game ritual for yourself. Whether it's what you eat the night before and the morning of. Right? Our fuel and our energy can really dictate how we are prepared, our hydration levels, what type of energy that we're getting. Right? I saw some of you guys eat lunch downstairs, and I know you may not have a lot of control over what you're eating depending on if you've got somebody you're working with there, but thinking about the type of foods, right? Like some of your simple carbs. Anybody can give me an example of a simple carbohydrate? I see some of you eating them right now. Right, white rice, fruit, juice like Gator or sport drink, Gatorade, orange juice. Those simple sugars are going to give you a quick boost of energy, right? Whereas some of your slower burning carbs like your sweet potatoes, your brown rice, your whole grain pastas, your oatmeals, those are going to give you more sustained energy. So thinking about the way you're fueling your body is also going to give you that preparation and that energy you need to get into these optimal zones. Okay, so we've got playlist, pre-game routine, we've got the way you're fueling your body, and we've got just understanding and identifying the type of warm-up mechanism that you need to do to get you in that zone. Is it dynamic stretching? Is it sprint work? Is it actually going through some different types of routes and combinations of movements that are going to get you into more of a game-like state? Okay, so as you look at this and you think through and you get into a situation and create a pregame routine, start to identify for you what your optimal zone is. And that's how we're going to start to replicate that flow state that we talked about, right? Because those are the ways that we're going to continue to be successful. So I want us to do a little breakout. It's going to be kind of hard because you guys are so spread out. So guys, if y'all can kind of help me facilitate this. Get in, I just want you to kind of chat in groups of 4 or 5, however you can. And these are two things I want you to identify, and then we're going to share out as a group. So you guys are going to get a little bit of engagement here with me. First of all, I want you to, as a group, I want you to think about what are some distractions that you're going to potentially face in a combine type scenario or any kind of tryout group training scenario that could negatively impact your performance. They're called irrelevant cues, meaning they really have nothing to do with how you perform, but they can disrupt your performance. Okay? So I want you to think about what that might be for you or for anyone. And then on the flip side, I want you to think about what information in your training environment, in that world of the combine or in a training scenario like practice or competition, is going to help you and going to help boost your performance and maximize your impact. Okay, so 1, what are irrelevant distractions? And 2, what's important information that's going to help you maximize your performance when you're in a high stress situation? Okay? So we're gonna do this. We'll give you 2 or 3 minutes. So just kind of turn. You guys can kind of just turn and chat where you are. You guys in the corner. Okay, you guys want to just turn and chat right here in this corner. Same here, and you guys can turn around and chat right here. Okay, you guys. You in the red. You turn right here. Okay, so one person can kind of just be the recorder. You got a pencil, so y'all can write stuff down. All right, you got 3 minutes, and you're going to just talk. So.
Y'all say what you do, I'll tell you. Y'all tell them what y'all say. I've been up about sleep. Social media is a distraction.
Like if you had a flat time with practice. Like if you had
Put up. To the right?
you guys got one.
To the left, that's the church. But I don't.
She said right there.
Y'all understand what we're ice pop? That's good. Yeah. You're like fans and hecklers.
Some people I talk. I can't talk to me. I like to talk to
Don't forget the positive things too, right? What's going to help save? All right, guys, 1 more minute. Okay, guys, sounds like we're quieting down. So just stop wherever you are, even if you had some more thoughts that you were talking through. I'm going to start back here in this right corner, this group in the back. Give me what you feel like. Hey, guys, let's be respectful as the other people are talking. Okay, you'll get your chance. Okay, in the corner back here, give us 1 distraction or irrelevant cue, and then 1 thing about your environment that you think is beneficial to your performance.
Except for like practice, like the weather.
Okay, good. That's a distraction that really shouldn't affect your performance, but it can. Okay.
And then something that helps is like hearing positive like feedback from somebody else, like
Okay.
doing well.
Good.
You hear that in your head.
Like coach or a teammate, like, hey man, awesome. Cool. Very good. I like that. So again, the weather, we can oftentimes roll in and be like, oh man, I never play good in the rain, or I hate the cold, I don't want to wear the, the long sleeves, or I got to put on extra, layers, and then I don't feel as mobile. So you get in your head with that stuff, right? But those are things that are just trying to distract from the performance. Okay, but when you hear positive feedback from coach or fans or teammates, you get that renewed energy. Those are things you can use to just push through some of those distractions. Really good job. All right, what about this middle crew? What did you have? Good try. Good try. All right, somebody else that's not so sick they can't talk to us. What is an irrelevant distraction?
We said people that come up to the pro day.
Okay.
Old fans.
Like fans or friends or family members where you're like trying to kind of impress, but they can be a distraction. Okay, that's definitely a good one. And anything that you feel like helps to boost your performance in the environment.
We said just being focused.
Like I would have said that.
Yeah, positive feedback.
Okay. All right, so that's going to be a common one, right? But yes, I agree. Sometimes you love it when your family comes or your friends, they're trying to support you, but it's also a distraction because, they're up there. It can take away from focusing on the present, and that's where you need to stay is in that moment. Okay, did you guys have anything different?
Yes, I agree.
Okay. Same crew. What did you guys have? You guys had some good ones over here.
If your girl takes you on some dumb stuff before the game.
Okay, that's fair. Girlfriend relationship problems, that is an irrelevant distraction. Okay, good. Okay, and you guys had some good ones. What about some positive, guys? What about some positive environmental?
Positive. We said just basically in your zone before a game, listen to some music. Block everybody else out. Put some headphones in your,
Good.
Could be by yourself. And then the distraction could be social media. But when you go back to pro day, like AP said, your old teammates coming up to you, talking to you,
Yeah, just trying to take away from that, being in that moment. Good, so again, we brought the music back into it. So that playlist can be an environmental factor that can really help keep you in the zone to really tune out those irrelevant cues. So the whole goal with this exercise was just to help you identify you're going to roll into this situation and there's going to be a lot of distraction. There's going to be a lot of things that are trying to take away from what really matters, and that's you staying present. You staying focused. If you read and you look at the things that impact people's performance at these combine scenarios, it's those that have the mental stamina. Everybody out there has the skill set. Now you have to believe your skill set's better. That's called being confident and having that swagger. But believe me, everybody's been training physically. Everybody's lifting. Everybody's doing their workouts. Everybody's putting the time in on the field. But if you can get through the mental component of this scenario, that's where you're going to stand out. And you're going to be able to deal with the letdowns. Because there will be letdowns. There are going to be things you're going to excel at. And there are going to be things you're going to struggle with. And there's going to be a lot of interviewing and talking and media interaction and things you've never done before. And this isn't to scare you or make you nervous. It's just truth. So your ability to stay in that moment and engage with this person sitting across from you, that coach you're talking to, that interviewer you're talking to, that's the mental focus. And whether that takes the playlist before you go into that room, whether that takes talking to your coach and getting some positive feedback, or your buddies and talking to them about how they dealt with those scenarios and just feeling some confidence with them, those are things you need to bring into the mix, and this is the mental skill set. All right, so just thinking through that, and whatever that optimal zone is, if you fall out of it at some point, you have to have some tools and strategies to get you back in it. Okay, and that's what I'm hoping you're going to take away from some of these conversations today, and understanding those irrelevant cues that you need to be able to tune out, because all they're trying to do is sabotage. Okay, sabotage your performance, right? So if we look at the champion's mindset, that next slide down below our breakout session, these are the 4 things that are going to be most effective for you maximizing your impact and creating that champion's mindset in these scenarios, in any scenario moving forward. Because this is never going to not be important, whether it's collegiately, professionally, past that, if maybe you're a coach at some point and you're then trying to educate your own team on some of these things. Okay, so the first we just talked about. The second is plugging in and refueling. Finding ways and energy that you can feed on, whether that's literally feed on from the food that you're eating, or, like I said, maybe there's a coach, a family member, a teammate, a podcast, a playlist that you're listening to refuel and get you back in that optimal zone. And then playing to your strengths. Okay? If you spend a significant amount of mental energy on the areas that are just not your strengths, that's wasted energy. Right? Because like I said, there are going to be areas that you know you're going to be excelling at and other areas where you may be a little less strong. So if you focus on your strengths and maximize those strengths and know that there are other things you're going to do well, but maybe not be the best at, then you can put more energy towards your strengths. Okay? And then those pre-game routines, your sleep patterns, right? Try it now. Don't wait till you get there. Go ahead and start to set up some strategies for yourself. Go to bed at the same time. Wake up at the same time. Eat on a schedule. Figure out recovery schedules, your playlist, what you're gonna wear that day. All those little things that just take any kind of other stressors off the table. But do it now. This next 2 and 3 weeks, for those of you that are going this year, that's when you want to try this stuff. And then for the others of you that maybe aren't ready to go just yet, those are still things you can start to learn about yourself and figure out, and then you have all that already in the groove. Okay? So that's just that pre-game routine. Does anybody have kind of a thing they do that they'd be willing to share that they've always done? It's kind of just like how they prepare for either a competition or practice?
Always use the bathroom.
Oh, well, that's always a good thing. All right, we go to the bathroom. What else?
Meditate.
Do a little meditation?
Right before the day of.
Okay, just trying to quiet the mind, get a vision. You do some visualization of kind of seeing yourself in that moment a little bit. And that's part of that, taking the unfamiliar out, right? If you see yourself in the scenario, then you feel like you've been there before, even if you haven't, right? You see yourself going through those movement patterns. You see yourself hitting your goal. You see yourself PRing your bench or PRing your 40 or whatever it is that you're working towards. Right? You want to visualize that.
I just be eating the same 3-game meal.
Okay, good. So you kind of know, hey, this fits well on my stomach. This is when my performance feels the best. I think that's a great idea.
Sleep. Probably the most important thing for me.
Yeah.
If I wake up and I feel like I'm rested, my confidence.
Totally. Like, oh, okay, my body feels good. I feel recovered. Awesome. Good examples, guys. Yeah, good. All right, so next slide, we're talking about interval training. What is interval training when you talk about physical training? Anybody kind of explain what an interval means? Stages, okay. That's a good way to describe it. So you've got work and rest cycles, right? When you talk about an interval sprint workout, right? Sprint the straights, jog the curves. Or maybe you're doing some kind of a tempo training day. Okay, this is the way you need to approach your mental game, right? If you look at these two pictures here, right? You got a marathoner and you got a sprinter. Who looks like they're more resilient? The sprinter or the marathoner? Who's going to be able to deal with more demand?
Marathon.
Really, I don't want to look like that guy.
He running, so like
He looks like he's about to pass out, right?
he running a lot.
When you look at the way a sprinter trains, they're going 100%, but they're then going to rest. They're not going to sustain that. They're refueling. It's called like periodization, right? When you guys train, you go through ebbs and flows. You have a recovery week, or you have a down training week, right, where you deload. You can't just go 100% all day, every day, because you will burn out. Your mind is the same way. So you've got to figure out and be strategic about where you have that work cycle. And you go all out, and you go full focus, and you put everything you got into it, but then you've got to strategically recover. Right? So that's what you've kind of got to figure out, is how to interval train mentally so that you can have breaks and focus and allow yourself to recover. Right? Just like we were talking about sleep being important for physical recovery. There's some ways to do that. We're going to try one in a little bit. One is just breathing exercises. Right? So whether it's just understanding how to breathe, right? So many of us just hold our breath when we get nervous. Right? You've got to breathe. If you try to hold your breath while you're squatting, or hold your breath while you're sprinting, hold your breath in an endurance workout, it's not going to go too well, is it? Right? You've got to have the right breath work. So there's one mechanism called box breathing. So you're literally envisioning a box, right? And you're breathing in for 4 and hold for 2. Out for 4 and hold for 2. In for 4 and hold for 2. So you box breathe to create a rhythm and get your body back in sync. So if you feel yourself kind of getting out of sync or getting a little stressed, you can try some of that box breathing mechanism. Right? Meditation we just talked about. There are numerous, Kobe being one of them, he was known for meditation. He did it every single day. Right? Phil Jackson was a big proponent of meditation as well, which is probably one reason he did it. Right? Roger Federer, one of the great tennis players, big meditator. So understanding and finding quiet time, and maybe for you it's prayer, right? If you're more of a religious person, it may just be some prayer time. If meditation is more comfortable for you, or just quietness in your mind and staying present. Meditation is not about not thinking, and I think that's where people find it so hard. They try to not think. That's impossible. What you don't do is react to the thought. So if you're sitting and you're thinking and you're worried about messing up, or you're worried about missing the mark, you're worried about not getting the result that you want to get, that's exactly what you're going to get. Right? The idea is to think about what you want to accomplish. Right? If I say to you, don't think about purple elephants, what are you thinking about? Right? So if you said, right, don't miss this ball, instead of, I'm catching this. I'm ready for this. What do you want to accomplish? If I'm a golfer and I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, don't hit it in the water, where's it going? Right? So what I'm thinking is fairway. I'm thinking about what I want, not what I want to avoid. Okay, so also just retraining the way that you position your thoughts and the content to always be positive. If I'm sitting at the free throw line and I'm envisioning that shot, I'm not envisioning it missing and hitting the rim, right? I'm envisioning nothing but net. Because that's what I always want to visualize, the result that I want. Okay? So that's where meditation can really come in. And then we talked about the other two. Okay? So why does this work? Okay? Why does mental skills training provide us an impact to our physical performance? Well, first of all, it keeps us present. One of the biggest challenges for athletes, especially those of you that are elite athletes, because we tend to be perfectionists, Right? You wouldn't be here if you didn't have a high level of expectation for yourself. If you didn't have discipline. If you didn't have work ethic. If you didn't have the ability to challenge yourself and achieve those challenges, you wouldn't be sitting in here. But the difficulty with that is we start to predict the future. We start to wonder what if. Or when we make a mistake, we stay in the past and we dwell on it. And we beat ourselves up for it. Can we do anything about what's already happened? Can we change the past? Can we predict the future? So if you spend mental energy on the past or the future, it's wasted. The only thing that you can control and you can dictate is what you do right now in this moment. So staying present and being able to control your mind and staying in this moment is what's going to help you be most effective and maximize your impact. The second thing is it allows you to be confident and balanced. That swagger. Body language is everything. And believe it or not, some of the people that are going to get more opportunity are not the ones with the most talent. Because they're going to be able to teach you whatever skill set you need. You might not even be in the same position you're in now. They might see you in a completely different position with a completely different skill set. They may want to put on 20 pounds or drop 20 pounds. All those things change. But what doesn't change is how coachable you are, how focused you are, your work ethic, your discipline, your mindset. Those are things that they can see that you can show them that's outside of your physical talent. Right? So that self-confidence and that swagger and that body language says a lot. Connecting actively with colleagues and coaches. Are you a team player? Are you engaged? Are you able to communicate? Listen. Eye contact. If you're not present, all those things are gone. Right? So again, that's that ability to stay present and stay focused mentally. And lastly, controlling what you can, right? That irrelevant versus relevant cues. If you spend so much energy mentally and physically trying to manipulate things that are without your control, right? You can't change the weather. You can't change the ref. You can't change your opponent's performance. You can't change how a coach views you. You can only change how you respond. You can only change your performance, the effort that you put in, right? So trying to take control and to understand the things that you can be a part of and the other things that are just taking mental energy away from you. Okay? Thoughts on all that? Questions on all that? Okay? I want us to try a little visualization, and then we'll wrap up and ask questions and recap a little bit. But this is the fun part. So where you are, just kind of spread out. Give yourself a little space. All right. Uncross arms and legs. If you want to close your eyes. Daniel, you want to get the light? Thank you. I want to hear any snoring. Maybe just a little. All right, no, the goal with this, guys, is to be relaxed, to be conscious, right? But allow yourself to relax. So we're not trying to fall asleep, right? Because we want to be able to use this in a performance scenario. So you're not going to fall asleep on the field, right? But you want to find full conscious awareness. The other thing is to be non-judgmental. Meaning don't question, oh, I should be feeling that, or why am I thinking that, or that's not what I want to do, or I don't want to feel this. Just be in that moment. Don't judge it, but just evaluate it, right? So no crossed arms, no crossed legs. If you want to just kind of lay your arms on your legs to get comfortable. Okay? I want you to start, just take some deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. And stay with that pace. In through your nose. Usually count to 4. In through your nose for 1, 2, 3, 4. Out. 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhale for 1, 2, 3, 4. And exhale for 3, 2, 1. You're going to hear some distractions, noises, outside, music. These are the irrelevant cues that you're working to tune out. Stay with your breath. You find your mind wandering, just come back to your breath. Focus on the inhale and the exhale. We're going to do a quick body scan, and as you go through these different body parts, I want you to just notice tension. The awareness of that tension will allow you to relax and release. Find full relaxation. I want you to start just at the top of your head, your forehead. Just let your eyes relax. Down through your jaw and your mouth, and just feel if your tongue's on the top of your mouth. That's a sign of tension. Just let your tongue drop away from the top of your mouth. And your shoulders fall from your ears. Relaxed. Again, coming back to the breath if you find your mind wandering. Let your chest rise and fall. Deep inhale and exhale. Start to feel your quads press into that chair, just nice and heavy, everything relaxed. Feel your calves and your feet. Feel all that tension just pressing out through the tips of your toes and fingers as you allow your body to fully relax. Continuing to breathe in for 4, out for 4. I want you to take your mind to next week or tomorrow or in 2 weeks, and just picture yourself in a performance situation. Maybe it's in the squat rack or on the bench. Maybe it's a sprint workout. Maybe you've got a scrimmage game coming up. I want you to try to create a vivid image. How you see yourself in that moment. What you're wearing. Who you're up against. Who's there with you? Teammates, coaches, colleagues. How vivid can you make that image? The smells, the colors. Are you sweating? I want you to feel confident, strong, resilient. Picture the perfect version of you. I am strong. I am am confident. I am relaxed. I am breathing in. I am breathing out. My body is strong. My mind is strong. I am calm. I am relaxed. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Take your mind back to the top of your head. And as we walk through this time, I want you to feel energy coming in, bringing new energy to your face and your cheekbones and your jaw. Just let your mouth drop away from your top lip and your bottom, just a little bit. I want you to roll your shoulders back. Just bring energy into your shoulders, to your biceps, forearms. Feel new energy coming in. And just wiggle your fingers just a little bit. And your abdominals, just bring new life in there. Big deep breath. And exhale. Down through your quads and calves. Wiggle your feet and your toes. With every breath, just find a new energy. Keep that image vivid and strong. As I count back from 4, I just want you to start to bring a little bit more present focus, coming back to the room at 4. And just roll your neck a little bit. Bring your energy back into your upper body. 3, 2, and 1. And take your time. And just when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Sit back up. See if anybody fell asleep on us. I heard a few deep breathing, snores. All right, Dad, you can get the light. Thank you. We could do that every day, huh? Anybody ever done anything like that?
Yoga.
A little bit of, okay, yeah. So just a couple things we did there. First of all was some deep breathing, right? That's something you could do anytime, anywhere. Nobody's gonna know you're doing it. It's easy, it's portable, right? You gotta breathe, but it's about creating a rhythm to your breath, right? Our body likes rhythm. It likes to wake up and sleep at the same time. It likes to poop at the same time. It likes to eat on a schedule. You know when you like your workouts, whether it's in the morning or in the afternoon, right? You got better energy at certain times. Breathing is a way to evoke rhythm, just like music, right? So all that stuff can make a difference. Then we did some visualization, right? Visualizing yourself in a performance scenario. Did anybody have a hard time with the visualization part? It's kind of hard for some people. Anybody? No? Okay. Anybody feel like they had a really vivid image of themselves? Yay, nay? Pretty good. Okay. So the key with visualization is multi-sensory, right? We want to see the visual. We want to smell it. We want to be able to feel it. We want to taste it if it's something around food or around some kind of a physical sensation. So the more vivid you can get with that imagery, the better. Who saw themselves from an external view? Anybody? Like you were looking at yourself? Okay, that's cool. Anybody see from outside your own eyes, like you were looking out of your eyes? A few? Okay, so it's always like that. There's a split. There we have different dominant views. Some of us see as a spectator, and some of us see from externally. So it's not a right or wrong. We just all tend to do it differently, so it's always interesting to me. And then we went through what I call a body scan, just a relaxation mechanism. Okay, so hopefully that's something you guys can take with you, right? So ways that you can use that in your room, you can use that on the field or in your pre-warm-up or pre-game warm-up or practice. But those are just some different mental skill sets, and the more you do it, the better you get. It's just like anything else. So I urge you guys to practice this, and to use the things that you felt like were effective for you. Some of this stuff it may not work for you, and that's okay. They're not all important and essential. But the key is that you have a strategy. Okay? And I know you're sitting out there because I've done this for 15 years. I'm good. I don't need this stuff. I guarantee you the people that are most successful in your world are doing this stuff. Okay? So figure out what works for you. Figure out the pieces that you do want to bring in now and let it all evolve. But I think the big takeaway for all of us today, and the reason that Jordan wanted us to do this, the reason that Michelle and Daniel have brought this in, is because they know the benefit of it, and because it is so hard when you're spending so much time on the field, full-time job hours, 40 hours to make time for this stuff, right? But even just 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day is going to make a big difference, right? So I'd love to hear from you guys just before we wrap. First of all, if there are any questions, and I know that's always, nobody wants to be the one to ask a question. But two, just something you took away from today, something that stood out that maybe you're going to try that you hadn't thought about before. So first, any questions that I can answer about anything we talked about, or clarification on anything? Don't be shy. Well, because of course I explained it all perfectly, so you have no questions. All right, and then secondly, just from a few of you, anybody feel like there was something that kind of stood out today, like, oh, I'm going to give that a try? Okay, breathing. The breathing exercise is good.
I say visualizing.
The visualization, just kind of getting better at that seeing, right? It's just that mental blueprint, right? Seeing what you want to achieve.
I felt
Go ahead.
like when I did, like usually when I meditate, I do it to like just clear my mind, like stay in the present and not worry about what's going on next.
Mm-hmm.
So I won't worry about the future or the past.
Sure.
Just living what's going on at that moment.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, so I'm trying to visualize now.
Yeah, so in that moment, picture something you want to achieve, so you kind of add a little to it. That's good. Anybody else? Cool. All right, guys. You guys got anything you need to say?
No, I was just saying we've treated a lot of pro football guys that won Super Bowls, guys that gone to Pro Bowl. The two things that you talked about in here are the things that don't take talent. That's what keeps you in the league for a long time, and that sets you apart from the guys who don't stay in the league for very long. And then every one of them is doing this mental coaching. They realize that the mental is to the physical is 2 to 1. It's almost twice as important. So if you can set yourself apart by the mental edge that you can have, you guys will take it to the next level.
Yeah. And something that might help, because I know sometimes it's hard to know where to start with this stuff. You know, it might even just be getting a book maybe every day that you're reading a chapter of that, and the message that you're finding there kind of drives your content for the day. You know, maybe there's a podcast you enjoy that they've written a book, or there's a devotional that might be beneficial to you, or reading just a chapter of a book from, a biography of somebody, and just using that to kind of drive your focus for the day. Because sometimes it's hard to just sit there and be like, okay, I'm doing my mental skills thing. I don't know what to do. So sometimes a book or something, or like I said, I know everybody's on their phones now listening to some kind of a podcast to just give some content to it might help too. But good. Thanks, Dan, for that. All right, guys. I guess y'all got something. I don't know what they're going now, but that's all I got. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.